A massive controversy has erupted over Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar's comments made in the Bihar Assembly. Now, the Chief Minister explained the role of women's education in birth control, but then, using gestures and descriptive language, he highlighted how an educated married woman can influence her husband to prevent pregnancy. And those remarks have now erupted into this massive controversy. He's facing a huge backlash. His language was slammed as shameful, disgusting and vulgar by the BJP, and there were demonstrations in Patna, even in Delhi, against him. Now, the Chief Minister has apologized for his comments, saying he never intended to offend anyone. He said that he stood for women empowerment and women's development. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who was addressing a rally today in Madhya Pradesh, also launched a scathing attack at Nitish Kumar and the opposition, saying that leaders of the India bloc insulted India before the world. Initially, Deputy Chief Minister Bihar Tejashwi Yadav, that's yesterday evening, tried to play down the comments as sex education, and he accused people of misinterpreting it. Well, let's just take a look at some of those statements, some of those reactions, Nitish Kumar's apology, also what the National Commission for Women had to say.
अगर कोई शब्द बात आ गई कि पुरुष और स्त्री दोनों जो लड़का लड़की रात में सोने की बात है, तो मैं माफी मांगता हूं उसके लिए। मैं इसके लिए मैंने वापस करता हूं इन सब बातों का। अगर इसको हमने यूं ही कुछ बात कहा और उसको ले करके इतनी निंदा हो रही है, तो मैं भाई देखिए, अगर मेरी कोई बात कहना गलत था तो मैं इसके लिए माफी मांगता हूं।
आप में से जो अखबार पढ़ते होंगे, जो टीवी देखते होंगे, उन्होंने कल एक घटना की तरफ उनका ध्यान गया होगा। ये गठबंधन गठबंधन, ये इंडी अलायंस, इस इंडी अलायंस के एक बहुत बड़े नेता जो इंडी अलायंस का झंडा लेकर के घूम रहे हैं, जो देश की वर्तमान सरकार को उखाड़ फेंकने के लिए भांति भांति के खेल खेल कर रहे हैं, वो इंडी अलायंस के नेता ने विधानसभा के अंदर, जिस सभा में माताएं बहनें भी मौजूद थी, कोई कल्पना नहीं कर सकता है ऐसी भाषा में बद्दी बातें की। कोई शर्म नहीं है उनको।
Yesterday's statement of Chief Minister of Bihar was very derogatory. We are deeply concerned with this. NCW, on behalf of every woman of the country, is deeply concerned that the way he spoke was like a C-grade movie dialogue in the assembly, in front of women, in the assembly, in front of everyone. And the worst was, men sitting behind, they were also laughing. That was worst.
एक बात बता दे, इसका कोई अगर कोई गलत मतलब निकालता है तो ये गलत बात है। एक तरह से जो भी मुख्यमंत्री का बयान आया जो सेक्स एजुकेशन के बारे में, और जब भी सेक्स एजुकेशन की बात की जाती है तो इसकी लोग जो है शर्माते हैं, हिचकते हैं, तो उससे लोगों को बचना चाहिए। तो स्कूलों में पढ़ाई होती है भाई, साइंस बायोलॉजी ये तो स्कूलों में पढ़ाई होती है, बच्चे पढ़ते हैं भाई। तो हमको लगता है अगर सेक्स एजुकेशन की अगर बात आई, उनका कहने का मतलब आबादी कंट्रोल जो है क्या करना है, वो प्रैक्टिकली बात जो भी आती है उन्होंने अपना बात किया। तो इससे लोगों को गलत तरीका में नहीं लेना चाहिए, एतराज नहीं लेना, बट इट शुड बी मोर टेकन एज अ सेक्स एजुकेशन।
All right, well, to talk about this entire controversy, I don't want to get into the politics of it, but I do want comments from women who are working in this field of, women development. We're joined now by Poonam Mutreja, Executive Director of the Population Foundation of India, Karuna Nandi, advocate in the Supreme Court, and Zakia Soman, activist and member of the Bharatiya Muslim Mahila Andolan. Thank you so much all for joining us. And Poonam Mutreja, I'd like to start with you. Nitish Kumar, the comments that he made in the assembly, he started off by talking talking about women's education and the direct impact it has on population control. And he was fine till then. Unfortunately, this massive controversy over the remarks he made after that, which, in the assembly, extremely vulgar the way it came across. The language was very crude. The gesticulations were unfortunate. What is your comment on this entire episode?
So while the appropriateness of the Chief Minister's words, tenor, tone, the behavior of all the others, making it a laughing matter, was something that can be debated by the politicians to score political points, I want to say three things. First thing I want to say, let's collectively look at the essence of not only what he was saying, but the real issue. The real issue is that there is a need for focus and concern on the lack of access to contraception for a large number of Indian women. And I think his objective, and he started by talking about education, he got completely fumbled over what is a simple a method that women or couples use for contraception, which is withdrawal method. And I think to talk about something, you need to come prepared to the parliament or wherever you go. So this was lack of preparation, lack of any, the language around sex is something people find very difficult to articulate. I think we need to do sex education, not just for people in India, but perhaps our politicians. And I don't think it's such a big issue where you're playing politics on the bodies of women. The issue is there's a huge unmet need, and nobody's talking about that, even today or any other day. But it's all an attack on one person who fumbled and failed with his language, I will acknowledge. And I think it is an opportunity for us to talk about the need for education and how education and access to family planning help women control their fertility. They have greater control on their fertility. And why are we, when there are rapes and sexual abuse, all kinds of things that happen, we don't see the Women's Commission, political leaders commenting on it. Why this only? And yes, you can score political points with Mr. Nitish Kumar, but the issues he raised are important. And Bihar especially has a huge unmet need for family planning. And I think we should all be focusing on that.
All right. A very interesting take on that. Karun and Nandi, your comments on this massive controversy, the remarks have been called as derogatory to women.
I find that ridiculous. It's quite laughable. The remarks were exceedingly vulgar. I was quite surprised when I saw them. But to make such a big thing out of those vulgar remarks, rather than objecting to it and saying that, look, the crux of what you're saying is correct with regard to talking about education, talking about women's empowerment, talking the ability for women to have the power to control their body, their sexuality and their fertility, is fundamental to the development of this country, to the pollution that, Ms. Mutreja was coughing in response to now, to this country's development in multiple ways. And I think we all know that fertility rates, women's empowerment is the crux of a large number of issues, right? What Mr. Nitish Kumar has achieved is the reduction of, as he mentioned, and he's right on that, is the reduction of the fertility rate in Bihar, which is not easy, from 4.2 to 2.9%. I think here we see a couple of fault lines emerging. We see a fault line between scientific thought and fake news. And we see a fault line between women's power to women and the ability of women to control our sexualities, our bodies, how we will relate to not just our husbands and families, but the world around us, and the idea that women are mothers and sisters primarily, and need to be protected, that our honor needs to be protected from vulgarity, right? And I think these fault lines are not mutually inconsistent, but politicians seem to have chosen, I don't think Nitish Kumar is against honor, to be fair, but I think that there's a false attack on Nitish Kumar's very unfortunate vulgarity, which he has apologized for, which he should and has apologized for, and sort of taking the idea of honor and taking the idea of these mothers and sisters that need to be protected from remarks like that and attacking him on that.
Right, absolutely. And he has apologized, and I think all of us are in agreement that it was very vulgar, the comments, as you said, the actions, the fact that people were sniggering, it was all very, very unfortunate. But Nitish Kumar, for a while, we've been covering the various campaigns that he's had in the state, whether it comes to providing cycles for women, sanitary napkins. There's been so much which he even spoke about in his apology, saying that I've stood for women empowerment. Zakia Soman, your comments on this?
So I pretty much agree with what was said just now by both the panelists.
Do you think there's a silver lining in this entire controversy, that maybe people will talk more about this, about the fact that women's education does lead to a fall in fertility, in birth rates?
Yes, so his choice of words was very poor, and even worse was the body language, the gestures, the jeering manner in which it was delivered. That was all in very, very bad taste, no doubt about it. But the issues that he was raising are very, very important. Women's autonomy in sexual relations, women's autonomy over their bodies, over their reproductive rights, the whole question of population control, the whole question of sex education. These are very, very important issues, not just in the lives of women, but for our society and for the country as a whole. And when they get trivialized by, the mannerisms of a very, very senior politician, then I really think that it doesn't behove somebody of the stature of Nitish Kumar, who is the Chief Minister of such a major state, and the fact that these words were spoken on the floor of the House. And that brings me to my second point, which is very, very important, that there is an overall deterioration in the, kind of quality of discourse in public life. The kind of coarseness in the discourse, the kind of words that, which have been used on the floor of the House in the Parliament by Mr. Biduri. So, and those words are such that nobody can even repeat those words, and the lack of action. So this kind of selective action, okay, it's good to outrage over, and condemn Mr. Nitish Kumar for what he said and the way he said. But what about so many other MPs who belong to the ruling party, who have not been taken to account, who have not even been officially condemned by their, respective party units? So we need to address this question of probity in public life, and what kind of example our politicians and our elected representatives are setting, whether they are sitting in the parliament or they are sitting in the Vidhan Sabhas, what kind of public statements they make, what kind of actions, and what kind of patriarchal and misogynist mindsets they display, and how not seriously do they all take the women of this country. On the one hand, we are talking about the women's reservation bill and the debate on that. But on the other hand, we are making it so difficult for women to be in public life and put up with this kind of, ugliness and this kind of coarseness. So it raises several larger issues. But it is good that it is giving us an opportunity to talk about, as was said, about these important issues.
Right, Poonam Mutreja, so maybe a silver lining that, what the original point that Mr. Nitish Kumar was trying to raise was talked about, also the outrage and the way the National Commission for Women has also come out and, spoken about this, and various politicians have spoken and hit out at Mr. Nitish Kumar's language. Hopefully, it means that the next time somebody does make certain remarks, that again we will see that kind of outrage, and people will realize you cannot make these kind of vulgar remarks or misogynistic remarks, which is also one of the terms which has been used for what Mr. Nitish Kumar said.
So there is a positive externality, and perhaps we need to give the language to people, and also we have a decent public discourse on women's reproductive and sexual rights and health issues. And the outrage stemming from the comments in the Bihar Assembly should not overshadow the grave reality that many women are still deprived of their reproductive rights and health choices. Our ultimate goal should be to secure and uphold the reproductive rights of all women, transcending societal taboos and embracing a more informed, supportive approach to family planning and sexual and reproductive education and women's education and empowerment in general.
Right, absolutely. And in fact, I've even heard some criticism of not just of the language and the crude language that was used, but also what he was promoting, that again this puts the onus on women, to control, to be the ones who are controlling this. Karuna Nandi?
Look, I think what he was talking about, at least what I could glean from the vulgarity, was a withdrawal method, right? And that there's lots of science on that saying that doesn't really work. But if one is talking about power and responsibility, then of course the responsibility belongs to both partners. But at the moment, the power as to how reproduction will happen lies to a huge extent with one, right? So if one is speaking about power over one's body, then it's right, I think, to say that women need a lot more power over our own bodies to create decisions that are good for family planning, that are good for children, that are good for not just our own lives, but as I said, the life of everybody around us, the life of the country. And that's not happening. You mentioned the NCW. I think the difficulty in public discourse today is that the NCW chief herself has said exceedingly vulgar things in the public.
Right. Well, I don't have her here to defend herself, but so we'll have to leave it there. But I'm glad, we're all. And hopefully, as we all agreed, that the message, the larger message perhaps that Nitish Kumar was sending out is something that will resonate. Unfortunate words used, crude language used. He has apologized. And yes, we need more probity in public life. Thank you so much all for joining us on the program today. I'm completely out of time. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye.